My name is Destiny Williams. This is Sociology 4000, and this is the fall 2025 semester. Welcome to my presentation. So, first, I'm going to start off with the debate over new immigration lecture. According to this lecture, in the late 1800s, the U.S. began passing immigration laws due to the nativist rising concerns. Early laws banning criminals, importation of women, the mentally ill, and people with diseases are seen immoral. This was because of income, education, and different qualities. Because of an 1875 court case, immigration became a federal responsibility and they then had power over it. Immigration rose after 1870, causing debate and nativist backlash. There were some changes in the U.S. immigration system, resulting in an increase in immigration to the U.S. Individuals left their homes because of poverty, persecution, and limited resources. They migrated to the U.S. for jobs, land, and freedom. The Johnson-Reed Act was a law that limited people from certain countries to move to the U.S., which made it unfair, suggesting that certain people were better or more superior than others. It allowed 2% of people from each country and excluded people from Asia. The 1942 Johnson-Reed Act was the most restrictive immigration law in the U.S. It was implemented to reduce immigration and a new set of criteria determining who can enter the U.S. Similar laws included the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. To piggyback off of this, I actually agree with some of the laws that were put into place. For example, importation of women. They basically prohibited bringing women into the United States for the purpose of prostitution. However, I don't agree with the fact that they banned individuals because they seen them as immoral. I say this because they basically introduced the Page Act and targeted Chinese and Asian women. They portrayed them as prostitutes and made it hard for Asian men to create families and women and marry with individuals from their culture. I believe that they should have some type of proof that these women were engaging in these activities instead of basing their beliefs on stereotypical aspects because of someone's culture or identity. I also believe that we still see this today because the government still sees certain people as superior and makes society believe that some individuals are better than others just because of their race and ethnicity. Next, we're going to discuss the debate over new immigration interactive lessons and videos. Francis Galton, which was a theorist, suggested that intelligence and other traits are inherited and could be improved through selective breeding. Many scientists disagreed with it, and it became popular with some groups of people in the U.S. and affected laws regarding who could move to the country. Eugenicists believe that different races and ethnicities were better than others and thought immigrants could harm the country. Madison Grant, which was a supporter of the eugenics, said that people from different races should be kept out to protect what he called Nordics, a group which he believed was the best. He argued that immigrants had to be severely restricted to protect the Nordics, who he thought were the most superior race. He believed other groups would make the country weaker. So what I wanted to say about this was actually something that connected me with another one of my classes that I was in. So this reminded me of something that I was learning about in my race class and gender and criminal justice class. So the overall belief was regarding race, although Galton's theory may be based on immigration. I believe that this theory differs from Ami and Winnet theory. I'm sorry. Ami and Winnet expresses that race is a social concept. They believe that the cause of human behaviors in relation to racial conflict aren't because of biological factors, or in this case, biologistic notions. They believe that race isn't based upon our genes, but it is because of who we associate ourselves with. It is shaped by broader societal forces. Cultural, societal, and environmental roles has an influence on race, which is why it is looked at as a social concept. In contrast of a natural phenomenon, it is a shared cultural value or belief. Galton believed that traits are inherited basically from genes. I believe that these two theorists had a different viewpoint from Galton regarding race and traits. Madison Grant was another person who aligned with Galton's theory. So we're going to discuss immigrants, immigration, and sociology, reflected on the state of the discipline by Cecilia Minhivar of Arizona State University. So one of the quotes that I found interesting was the unlinear progression of the race relation cycles will accumulate, and the assimilation has been foundational for the study of immigrants' assimilation and thus his conceptualization, which continues to serve as a guide under different rubrics and guises to examine race relations has been a critical springboard to theorize about contemporary immigrants, assimilation, and how immigration impacts the study of race and ethnic relations. Another one was, quote, and an inclusive lens that incorporates structure and agency could guide the conversation about immigrant assimilation through a path that allows a fresh and fundamentally sociological analysis of how new structures of inequality, such as immigration policies that create multiple legal categories, shape the fate of immigrants in the new society. So I believe that this was interesting to me because it helped me to understand immigration better through a sociological perspective. Cecilia Minivar shows how the study of immigration has changed and developed over time in regards to sociology. They studied how immigrants interacted with locals by living with them and adapting while coming from a new country. This is discussed through family, religion, and ethnic and racial relations. Sociologists focus on how immigrants adapt to their new countries and how they interact with the people around them in order to fit in. Digging deeper into how society works, the process is much more complex and complicated. Immigrants face challenges like systemic discrimination, unfair laws, not being able to find opportunities, staying connected to their old countries, and etc. Sociologists needs to look at immigration through assimilation, but also factoring race, class, gender, religion, originality, and state-based policy into the equation because it has a huge effect on assimilation. There's a direct cause and effect relationship between the two. Interdisciplinary research should also be introduced to understand migration and the diverse experience of immigrants. So, focusing on slide 5, which was about sociological theories of immigration, pathways to integration for U.S. immigrants. So, with this slide, I put a couple quotes that was interesting to me and that stood out, which made me understand the story, well, understand the article better. So they communicated that immigrants moving to a new country experience different ways of fitting in and trying to create a sense of belonging. Some individuals may blend in completely and act like the people around them. They wanted to feel as if they weren't out of place. This can be seen as speaking, dressing, eating, and acting like the locals. According to the article, as an inevitable and eventual outcome for all immigrants, assimilation was achieved only when immigrant populations shed their cultural distinctiveness and blended into the majority American culture. So, what they meant by this was basically immigrants not necessarily throwing away their culture, but kind of throwing it away by trying to blend more in into like being an American and learning the American way. Another quote was that other immigrants try to stay connected to their to their old country or culture. They still wore their country's clothing, ate their food, stuck to traditions, and communicated with people back in their country. Some may actually did both. Some immigrants found it easy to get jobs, make friends, and feel like they're comfortable where they're at, while others may have found it difficult. There were different theory there were different theories suggested. Some say it's actually okay to keep your own culture's identity and still be a part of the new country. Making friends and finding support will help you adjust. Different people can adjust to their new lives. It all takes time. Viewed through a sociological theoretical lens, the integration of immigrants into American societies is seen as influenced by two major factors, which is context of the host society and group characteristics and adaptations of arriving immigrants. So this was interesting to me because it helped me understand immigrants in society more. I'm starting to understand why it's harder for them to adapt more, which is really because that they're basically in a new environment, away from home and away from what they're used to. So it's different from their normal lives that they used to live. So I connected this to us. So that's like if we were going to a new setting, for example, starting a new job or a new school. If we were to go to one of those new environments, it would be unfamiliar to us. We will have to make new friends, interact with people who might be from different backgrounds, and a lot more. It might be difficult, but with the help of others, we might gravitate towards learning new things and experiencing different things. Moving on, last but not least, slide 6. So I found a news article relating to immigration. So the title of this article was Federal Government Could Resume Taking DACA Applications for Permits to Live and Work in the U.S. So the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival Programs, also known as DACA, is a program in the United States which is strictly for undocumented immigrants who came into the U.S. illegally as children with temporary protection from deportation and authorization to work legally. So there are laws and regulations put into place in order to be considered and meet the requirements. You must have entered the U.S. before age 16. You must be in school or have a high school diploma. Or for one, I understand the requirements that you have to meet, but I do believe that it should at least be for individuals under the age of 18. I said this because you're still legally a minor at 17, which it does not include. It's only over 8. I mean, it's 16 and under, which you're still considered a minor at 17. I also wanted to include that it doesn't mean permanent citizenship. Um, Also, if individuals come to the U.S. for, well, this contradicts what I'm saying, but I also wanted to say that if individuals came to the U.S. for better opportunities and to escape the trauma that they've already experienced, why do they have to go through more things when going to another country that's supposed to help provide them with guidance and support in order to get back on their feet? Which it's helping them, but it's not necessarily helping them because they're only like it's only temporarily. So it's not permanent. So yeah. On the other hand, I do believe that this relates to, for one, I understand the requirements that you have to meet, but I do believe that it should at least be for individuals under the age of 18. I said this because you're still legally a minor at 17, which it does not include. It's only over 8. I mean, it's 16 and under, which you're still considered a minor at 17. I also wanted to include that it doesn't mean permanent citizenship. Um, Also, if individuals come to the U.S. for, well, this contradicts what I'm saying, but I also wanted to say that if individuals came to the U.S. for better opportunities and to escape the trauma that they've already experienced, why do they have to go through more things when going to another country that's supposed to help provide them with guidance and support in order to get back on their feet? Which it's helping them, but it's not necessarily helping them because they're only like it's only temporarily. So it's not permanent. So yeah. On the other hand, I do believe that this relates